everyone. Welcome back on VCTV, which is a venture capital TV from LATOKEN. Before that, I would like to say happy Monday, all of you. I mean, it's great to see you all back, happy, smiling on a Monday, on the beginning of the week. You know, that's what makes my day, start of the week. So fantastic. We have all the speakers today from different parts of the region, different parts of the world, as we always have, from Tokyo, Florida, Dubai, Delhi, Bangalore. I mean, whatnot. I mean, I'm in Singapore. So basically, my name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director. I host VCTV. I'm the moderator as well. Monday to Friday, I have a fixed time that I host. Is 8 p.m. Singapore time, I'm saying. So I cover different topics. And today I'm covering investments in education and tech in education. So it's very interesting, and we're going to have different insights coming from different investors today, and entrepreneurs and founders who are looking to explore into the space or looking for further rounds of investments. Do tune in and listen in to what these investors have to say, because we have somebody who just announced their next round of investment in an EdTech startup. So do tune in, and we are streaming live from our official Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages besides our website. So yeah, so there you go. Okay. I would like to start with the introduction. Please, Karthik, over to you. An introduction and a background about yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And session number 47, Sonny. Keep the counts, please.
Welcome.
I'm Karthik. I come in from Middle East, Dubai. I represent a couple of family offices based in the UK with keen appetite to invest in fintech, health tech, and a couple of venture funds based out of Bahrain and Qatar investing heavily into edtech. Last week, we locked Series A funding for an edtech company primarily into home tutoring and home education. I think a sunrise sector where we have seen so much growth in last 100 days that we haven't seen in last 100 years in the business, primarily coming in from online teaching, online curriculum, methodologies, and more importantly, democratizing education to different parts of the world. So I think a sunrise sector all in all with a lot of opportunities for everybody to invest. Maximum startup interest received in last 6 months has been in EdTech, and it only continues to grow. So yeah, there's a lot for everybody to win and everybody to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome back on the 47th episode of VCTV, as you rightly said. And I really like sunrise sector. Of course it is, isn't it? Thank you, Karthik. Next, I have Vandana. Vandana, how are you? Welcome back on VCTV. How are things with you?
Yeah, hi Sony. Thank you once again, and Carol also for bringing me back here. Hi everybody, all Karthik, Mohit, Kingsley, Gary. This is Vanna Tolani from India. I have worked 15 years in Singapore and Jakarta in investment banking, where I had my own family office fund there. This is my 6th year back in India, did some investments in India, then went back to advisory. I'm connected globally. I work with global entrepreneurs and global investors, and I have a network of 200 investors globally. Looking forward to talk a lot more on EdTech, and very happy to see all of you here back again.
Same here. Very happy to see you back on VCTV. Thank you so much, Vandana, for that intro.
Thank you.
Kingsley, over to you. A little bit of background and intro. Thank you.
Yeah, happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New
Good to be back here. Sonny, thank you for having me always. My name is Kingsley Kobayashi. I'm a Japanese Nigerian. I've been in Asia for about 30 years. I'm a blockchain investor. I invest in traditional finance also. I'm into clean tech, hair tech, and ed tech is coming up right now. So it's a good way to invest. I'm also investing in commercial real estate and especially looking into clean energy as we are trying to save the world right now.
Awesome. Education tech and clean tech. Thank you so much, Kingsley. And welcome back on VCTV.
Thank you, always.
Hey, Mohit, welcome back on VCTV. Please intro and background. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sony. Thanks, Carol, for scheduling this. I'm part of Xfinity Venture Partner. We are a B2B enterprise tech-focused venture capital firm where we invest in emerging startup opportunities, mostly ranging in B2B tech space. We are sector agnostic, invest across sectors starting from AI, cloud, big data, and other such allied sectors. We have made a total of 25 investments till date, manage an AUM of over 1,000 crores, and we typically come in at a pre-Series A, Series A round of investment and write check size somewhere from $1 million to $4 million begin with, and then go ahead and subsequently do follow investments in companies. Thank you so much, and looking forward to an engaging session now. Thank you.
Same here, Mohit. Thank you so much for putting yourself on mute. I mean, I was actually hearing myself. Awesome, fantastic. Last but not least, Gary. Gary, how was your weekend like? Happy Monday.
Well, my weekend was great. I was down in Key West, the very southernmost tip of the United States, hanging out, and I still haven't gotten back to my house in Silicon Valley, but I had a really good time hanging around Hemingway's house and just enjoyed it. Rode my bike down there. What's that?
On Facebook Live?
Yeah. Did you see? I did Facebook Live down there. It was really interesting. It was really interesting. This guy was feeding fish, and there were pelicans there and barracudas. And these were big barracudas, which are, could be 1 meter, 1.5 meters. But as the fish were being fed to the barracuda, the pelicans were trying to eat the fish, the barracuda. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So yeah, it's great. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm an investor. In fact, I'm making an investment today in a space tech, a very well-known space tech company. I love AI. I love quantum computers. My next article on quantum comes out today, actually, in Forbes. So I've done 17 companies, had 2 unicorns. On the original management team at Click Software, sold for $1.35 billion. And Eva.ai formed almost 5 years ago, actually. And that company is one of the top AI HR tech companies. I write a lot. I've written 111 articles now on artificial intelligence. And I guess I'm cranking 3 to 5 out a week right now.
Wow. Excellent. And I love your live videos as well. And thank you and welcome back on PCTV. Excellent. Okay, we all set with the introductions of our speakers. Before I start the floor for questions, I'd like to just give a little background about the topic itself. Over the past 10 years, education tech deals have exploded in number and value, reaching around 300 plus transactions and more than 10 billion USD in 2020 alone, the year just gone by. As per GSV Ventures, the value of EdTech transactions increased from 0.5 billion USD in 2010 to a value of 12 billion USD in 2020 itself. We're talking about 2020 here. I mean, the year just gone by, the coronavirus pandemic year. So I mean, I see a huge number potential in this sector, sunrise sector, as Karthik rightly said. Let's discuss and drill down into very specific points about this sector, so that our founders and entrepreneurs who are looking to raise funds, be it a seed stage, be it a next round, higher stages of funding, they at least can get some insights and in-depth insights as well. How to raise funds and scale up and get some traction. Okay, so I'm going to start with Vandana. Vandana, let's open the floor with your insights about this particular sector, which is education and education tech.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny. The COVID-19 crisis has been a major catalyst in enhancing the learning process, not just for students and educators, but also for investors and edtech startups. I mean, this year before the pandemic saw, like you rightly said, a high growth and adoption in education technology, with global edtech investments reaching to euros 15.87 billion just in 2019-20 itself. Whether we are talking about language apps, video conferencing tools, online learning software, there has been a significant surge in the usage since COVID-19. And today I'm hoping to cover up, what investors look for when they choose to invest in EdTech and the reasons why investments in EdTech are growing at such a large rate.
Fantastic. Yeah, sure. We would love to hear those insights in detail. Karthik, over to you, please. Thank you.
So I look at it a little differently, Sony. On an average, on a daily basis across the world, 1.7 billion kids go to schools and educate themselves in a different manner. When Zoom started and when Zoom, Google, and Microsoft Teams started education post COVID, they recorded typically around 600 million students logging in from different parts of the world, which means only one third of the student population has still reached the entire online education portal or entire online education space, which means two-thirds of the business is untapped. You break this entire edutech and education industry into three. At the core of it is the entire education curriculum or the content. What we see in books is what we need to see and replicate it online. In books, it is far more easier and invigorating for a student to access. But when you get into an online space, you're using multiple senses. You are reading, you're listening, you're writing, and you're working on it at the same time. So creating an interactivity comes to the next level, which is creating an online education platform which understands how do you evaluate a student, how do you make a student learn, how do you make a student participate, and how do you student assimilate a period of over a period of time. And most important is the supporting industry, which is the technology, the bandwidth, the home tutoring, and the entire infrastructure that supports it. And more importantly, is it democratized to make sure that not only kids in the US and Singapore and affluent India learn and be a part of it, but even kids in certain parts of the world which are not able to afford a technology platform. And I'm happy one of the participants on your panel was working on $100 computer to make sure in Cambodia, the gentleman from Cambodia who was working on a computer to make sure that education is democratized. Now that's where I see this entire edutech industry being moving. Content creation, content democratization, technology platforms, and creating a bandwidth or creating an infrastructure for educators to impart that education. It's not just that the kids don't know how to educate themselves online, it's also the educators don't know the same way. Educators don't know how to teach online. They suffer from course curriculum phobia, they suffer from evaluation phobia, they suffer from one-on-one interaction phobia as well. So the reason why I say this is sunrise industry is because it's only one third democratized, one third populated, and only in the top 20-25% of the global reach that has been able to benefit out of it. So there's going to be massive investments, and I see a lot of investments specifically coming in from India, coming in from Pakistan, coming in from Saudi on creating learning platforms, because learning needs to be regionalized in terms of languages, it needs to be regionalized in terms of flavors. More importantly, bandwidth and technology platforms that operate on low bandwidth to make sure that the remotest village in India and Pakistan is also able to make that education affordable to kids. In my last 7 months interaction in the edutech space, I've seen around 47, 48 deals come on the table. Two have been successful, one is under process. But the benefit that all of them come in with is they come in with a very low ticket value to start with. You can kickstart a business with as low as $50,000 to $100,000, see a proof of concept coming in, and then fund it in anywhere between 1.5 to 2 million to take it to the next level. And by the time it comes to commercialization of it, you would have invested not more than 6 to 7 million, which is where the proof of the success comes in from. So that's my quick take on the business.
Karthik, just a question out of interest. Like you said that you want to democratize this entire education tech space, but traditionally VC investments have been known to focus on shareholder profits and more revenues. But when you're talking about India, yeah.
So I look at it a little differently, and the fund that we represent and the family office that we represent looks at businesses differently. When you want to commercially make something successful, you need scale, you need volumes, you need reach. When you make something that is going to last and reach out to only the top 10 to 15% of the population, there's only so much you can milk from it. You're not building a luxury platform, you're not building a Louis Vuitton or a Hennessy that's going to go to the top 10% and generate multiples of it. The reach and success would come only when 1.7 billion kids across the world are able to educate themselves 210 days a year. That is when your content, that is when your bandwidth, that is when your platform, that is when your software is going to generate success and generate revenue. It's an entire industry that we are talking about. The capitalistic mindset on the VCs is slowly moving towards democratizing and scale mindset. And I see this often in multiple parts of the world, specifically in the Middle East, where I engage very often with the sovereign fund and where I engage with the Saudi funds. I realized that it's more about making sure that everything is accessible to people. Accessibility drives revenue, accessibility drives scale. It's the logic of recency, frequency, and monetary value. You make it recent, you make it frequent, then monetary value will obviously come through.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that change of mindset when it comes to VC investments. Really happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Karthik. Next, I come to Mohit. Hi, Mohit. Let's just hear it from you, because your investments are basically the geography, if I remember, India and the Silicon Valley, US and Singapore, right?
Yeah. So specifically talking about education tech, I think Vandana and Karthik has raised very good points. I also want to add one other point is why it is being important to have and so much investment is coming to the sector is, see, whether you believe it or not, education or a teaching has not been a very I would say a great highly respectable profession historically, and whenever you see that not very you will not be able to find very good teachers which are available or able to take the kids throughout their education journey. And there, typically traditionally the education, the way it has been developed, it only caters to the captive audience or a captive set of people, and that captive set of people, the traditional way of delivery has led to a lot of migration which used to happen either from rural areas to urban areas, or from urban areas or tier 2 cities to tier 1 cities, or even there is a migration which is happening across the country for getting a lot of education. But what has this COVID has led to, a lot of educational institutions, coaching centers, tutor I would say structures, investments have all went on to digital, and this has led to the democratization in true sense in terms of a teacher sitting in one part of a world who is able to better teach to the students and help them in understand a specific concept in a better way, is able to impart the same knowledge not only to the captive audience but to any audience who can hear or listen to them over a digital medium. And even top universities around the world have started opening their online courses. If you look at top US universities, have also started their online MBA programs, MS programs in this past 12 15 months. So this is very important in terms of that it will lead to people sitting in their relevant part of the geography access to that quality education which becomes or which makes it truly a democratized platform.
Thank you so much, Mohit, for sharing those opening remarks. We will go drill down into your recent investment later after we speak with Kingsley and Gary. Thank you so much, Mohit. Kingsley, over to you now. Just in terms of, can you just remind me in terms of investments, your investments are into Asia, Tokyo, Africa, or is it global?
I invest globally.
Globally.
I invest
okay.
globally, depending on the project. Talking about edutech and edtech, it is important that people understand what we are talking about. I think it's just the marrying of traditional education and adding technology to education. So it's edutech and edtech. So when we marry these together, we have a system that provides authenticity for people who are actually teaching, provide authenticity for people who say they have PhD from or diplomas from here and there. And we are able to have teachers from all over the world. Up to now, teachers have been actually underrated from a very long time. They do all the work of imparting knowledge on others, and others become rich and they're just there. But I think with edutech, that's going to change. A lot of teachers do not know how to use computers in developing countries. They are already learning. What is most important is that governments are now embracing edutech due to the recent COVID-19 pandemic. They realized that children now have to study from homes. They have to study from different areas of the world. And that is very important. VCs are investing in it, individuals are investing in it. This is good, but the government themselves embracing edutech is what we want. Once the government embraces it, then we will now have inter-country platforms that will be able to, you don't need to go to America or go to London or go to any other school. You can study from your own home. You can have Indian teachers, you can have British teachers, you can have American teachers. So this kind of knowledge becomes very important because it becomes versatile in different histories, in different tech and different ways of doing of learning, because we learn either by assimilating knowledge, by through education, or by through experience. So you are able to experience other countries, what they are actually learning there without being there, and that will help the next generation to be more versatile than we are right now. Right now, it's just streamlining. Okay, from Japan, they don't teach you about other countries. They don't teach you how good Japan is. From Africa, they teach you how good Africa is. But right now, EdTech is giving us an opportunity to be able to study what we are studying around the country. And I'm happy Gary is here today. Going to be talking with him again, as always. He's always very fun to be around with. And AI is going to play a very important role in EdTech and whatever we do from now. And I'm happy it's one of those that is really working on that. And the opportunities in EdTech is limitless. It is a growing, actually 3 times economy of its own, because every children need to be educated. But there are also disadvantages. There are countries that do not have the infrastructure. So it should be a simple application that can be used on the mobile phone for developing countries, like the poor areas of Africa, the poor areas of South America, the poor areas of Asia. So we should be thinking of something that will be able to reach out to these people. It is not about how much you really invest that matters. It is how many people are you able to get to. This will decide where EdTech is going. We have to be able to give education to everyone, not just the rich, not just the middle class, but also the poor. And to do this, we need platforms that are able to adapt to simple mobile phones, not iPhone 5, iPhone 10, iPhone 20, but simple mobile phones that people have in rural areas, so that they can also benefit from what we are doing for EdTech in the world.
Yeah, thank you, Kingsley. I think rightly said by Karthik as well. It's about democratizing the space by reaching out to people all over the world. But another good point you highlighted, that it shouldn't be only on the apps, shouldn't be only on the smartphones. It should be on the phones that are used by people in, as you rightly said, Latin America, South Africa, and other sort of developing countries. Which is a very good point. I mean, that's how they're going to access the platform. Thank you, Kingsley. Next, I have Gary.
Sorry.
Hi, Gary. Over to you with the opening remarks, please.
Yeah. So, I'm excited. This is really an incredible time. And as Kingsley said, it's good to see you again, Kingsley. This is a great
Pleasure.
time. This whole Zoom revolution that took place. And Sonny, I remember 5 years ago when I was one of the first users of Zoom. And here we are with over 400 million active users. I was on a panel recently and somebody said, well, but Zoom just doesn't have the features for the teachers. That's right, because a year ago, it thrust upon Zoom to be something that it was going to be in another 3 to 5 years, not right away, but they've adapted to the change. But I'm excited. Think about what we've been able to do. And there's still a lot of work to be done. The opportunity to be able to democratize the opportunity. I wrote an article in Forbes called Nikola Tesla's Dream Comes True, the democratization of opportunities. And that's really where it is, because we've been able to reach further out. I know myself every day I'm on calls with Africa, with Australia, with Indonesia, Singapore, Europe. I mean, you name it, actually. I've got companies all over the world today. And so, but think about where we are. We're absolutely right. The more education people have, the greater that we can have an impact in society. And quite frankly, I know from my own experience of starting the first accelerator in Russia, that it actually helps relationships in a very interesting way, because we start to work together. And if everybody prospers, it becomes truly a win-win and a lot of good feelings. So I'm all for it. But there's a tremendous opportunity. Think about the immersive education possibilities that we have today. I can be a child in India and I can look at a safari in Africa, in Kenya, wherever I want to be. And those kind of beautiful experiences, something that we didn't have 5 years ago. So it's encouraging. Then if we look at the same time, think about the personalization that can be done for each and every student. Of course, we don't have all the kinks worked out yet with education online, but imagine having the capability to be able to go down through and really hyper personalize a training curriculum for that student and have an artificial intelligence assistant acting as a mentor to be able to guide that student through the process and tutor them if necessary. So it's, I could go on for 2 days about the topic because I just love it, but it's really, it's the right place at the right time to be able to get into ed tech. And think about it for corporations. Think about how many places around the world, and we have a couple of those investments in ed tech companies, but how many corporations around the world are going through the same thing? How do I train my employees in basic skills when I used to have them come into the office and go through training sessions for a week? How can I do that and make it exciting with gamification, et cetera? So it's not just educational, primary schools and universities, it's really corporate education. So I'm seeing it across the board, and it's pretty exciting because we're seeing some dynamic changes happen very quickly. And Kingsley, we have a company called Skill Cup, by the way, that allows you to be able to do things on mobile phone for education. It's one of our accelerator companies, if you want to take a look at it. But there's some interesting technologies we're seeing come out.
Please send me information. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for sharing those lovely insights with our audience today. Okay, great, fantastic. Let's drill down into case by case use cases, like use cases, stories. I'd like to start with Vandana first, because Vandana is exploring, and she's got a pipeline deal flows pipeline to EdTech startups. So Vandana, tell me, what are the best practices followed by you when you are making an investment? So if it is seed investment, what are the best practices? If it's a next round investment, what are the practices you followed? Thank you.
Yeah. When I look into a startup, I look into a lot of things. One is, what is the founder's background? What is the kind of revenue that the company is generating? What is the technology? And also what kind of relationships, I have with the startup. There are some factors that I do look into when I explore a, startup, especially in the edtech spaces. What is the core problem and its impact? Do they have a robust cash flow? Is it a competitive landscape? How scalable it is? And, is it aligning to the VC's mission, and what is their experience? Now, coming to the companies that I'm lately working with, though I saw a lot of edtech companies in 2020, but I'm closely now working with 3 of them. One is based out of Delhi, which is working with the youth to prepare them for social, economic, and environmental challenges of the 21st century. They are presently working with organizations like UNESCO and Indian Army to make the youth future ready. And they've also developed a product that converts your messaging platform into learning platform. Then the other one, which I'm looking into, which I'm discussing with a lot of investors, is it's a K-12 education app that is building a specialized online brands for, to make or break exams in vernacular languages and offering them at affordable prices. Then the third one that we have looked into before, and now we are again looking into, is an edutech company which is building India's largest chain of B schools by aggregating MBA colleges in an asset-like model and running PGDM programs in these colleges. Basically, it's a OYO for MBA colleges. And in India, there are about 4,000 B schools, barring top 150 to 200 colleges, and most colleges are struggling to fill their seats and run into financial losses. So this, this edutech company is helping these colleges to run its program. So these are the 3 companies that we are closely looking at.
Wow, that's an interesting one. OYO for MBA colleges.
Yeah.
And So is it like early stage? I just want to ask a little bit more about it because I find it very interesting because that model, that aggregator model is obviously the future. So what stage?
This is ahead of pre-series A. It's already one step ahead of pre-series A.
So must be probably regulated and controlled by the government as well. Because
yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. The government support is there. Thank you so much, Vandana, for sharing that some of the use cases in the space as well. Next, I'd like to ask Mohit about his recent investment. Mohit, so we just got to know the good news today from Chinu. So just can you please share like the story of this startup? If you can share like from the inception till they got the multiple round of funding.
Sure. By the way, the PR happened a couple of days back. We thought of waiting till after this year to do the PR, but the investment has happened last month itself. So this is a company which the name is Thirdflix, but their product name or the trade name under which they operate is Practically. A very unique and very interesting concept. Basically, it is enabling teachers to teach students very practical concepts through animations, videos, as well as immersive learning experience. So whether you can teach them about solar system, you want to teach them about, say, some chemistry lab experiment or the physics experiment, double slit experiment, and all those things. Many a times, what happens is that you always see that in a school setup. Basically, they are targeting K to 12 segment, and in a school setup, what typically happens is you have a large student base, but the assets or the infrastructure which is available for, say, experiments, labs, and all are very limited, and the same lab is being shared by all the students of different sections of the class, and also different students in different classes also share the same asset. So the problem is the student does not get ample opportunity and ample lab time to understand the concepts or theories which they are reading in their books into how it would what would be the practical application of those concepts. So this Practically is a platform which enables teachers through immersive experience like AR, VR, also through videos and other things, help teachers to better teach or impart those concepts. And this started actually in 2019, and in 2019 we started building the concept. And with this COVID, what has happened that it has got another level push in terms of that now the schools and all the labs are all closed and not open, and teachers have the pressure to complete the entire curriculum. So same curriculum which used to be taught in a school environment has now been taught in a digital environment. Now students does not have access to those facilities, and also now it has got a very big tailwind in what I would say through COVID, and that has led to further adoption of the same via schools, by schools, as well as by students. We did not have a
So who
plan
are
to
your
use
target
fund.
clients? Sorry, go ahead.
So the target clients is basically teachers who are teaching in schools. Uh, what they do is they take up the product, and they pay for a subscription services based on the number of students who are using the product. But this is a very limited, I would say, the subscription which is available to the schools, that teachers will get a certain number of hours for which they can use the product to teach a limited population of, say, 50, 60, 70 students. And once students want to consume more and more concepts, more and more videos, concepts through from different repositories or different contents which are available online, they will further pay for the product, and then there is a direct engagement with the student itself which happens. So this is how the entire engagement works. But the primary client is students, but they are not into direct acquisition of those students. They go via schools and acquire those students in a long run.
And this is only for India?
As of now, it is only for India. There are a couple of education institutions in Thailand and Malaysia who have shown interest, as well as there is a GEMS in Middle East, Gulf region. But the entire content and most of the customer, around 90% of them, are in India.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mohit.
Sure.
Okay, you wanted to say something. Sorry, I interrupted.
I just wanted to finish the point by saying that you initially asked the question of in terms of what is the or what are the things which you want to see in a startup once they grow from a seed stage to a series stage to a later stage of investment. So what has been our experience in seeing this company as well as a couple of other companies which I have seen in the education tech space, that specifically in a seed environment, you don't have too much to look forward to. You just take a bet on the founding team as well as the product, how the product is competitively placed among its peers, and its possible differentiation which it can create in the market. More and more deeper engagement or deeper analysis of the startup starts happening once startups grow from a seed stage to a series A stage, because then it becomes important that what is the net promoter score of that kind of product, or what is the virality quotient. Is there something which will help us in creating a network effect or generating users at a large scale and within a short period of time? And one thing which is also important is the stickiness is important. So virality and stickiness are two different things. And apart from that, even if you grow and acquire a number of users, what are the things which will enable students to stick on the platform and consume or spend more and more hours on the platform? So these are the things which are being seen once the startup goes to Series A stage. And then when you go to Series B stage, it's pure numbers, whether it is in terms of your users, whether it's in terms of the hours of content being used, what is the engagement times and everything. So Series B onwards, all the decision making is mostly on the numbers, but in the initial phases, it's more about the virality, stickiness, not net promoter score, product differentiation, founding team, and others.
Wow, great. Thank you so much for sharing those. Karthik, are we back?
Absolutely. The fire drill was just a mock drill.
Okay, fantastic. So Karthik, so Mohit was just explaining the different stages of investment that went in for his startup that recently got a Series B funded as well, funding as well. So do we have such success cases to share with the audience from you?
100%. So I wanted to mention a few specifics that we take care, especially when we talk about health tech and edutech. These are core businesses, and these are typically not businesses, these are services. So the way I would develop a fintech or a banking tech or a wealth tech platform versus the way I look at a health tech and an edutech platform is very different, because one, this is about building infrastructure and building core foundations of a society. Two, looking at content and the way the content is curated from multiple sources and is being replicated for for audiences and for kids to absorb is the core of this entire industry. I've seen at least 7 to 8 cases in last 12 months where we have particularly rejected when content was curated in a very, very ad hoc manner. I've seen startups coming on a floor with an idea of a technology platform and tutors, but not having a foundation of content. You would try and mix 3 to 4 different curriculums to create a hybrid content, and at the end, what you would end up doing is creating a very, very informal or very, very raw education layers. So where what we look at primarily in funding is at the base is how affordable is this education for? Who's this education for? Is this a primary education? If this is primary education for school kids, is it backed by government? Is it backed by any education body? Is it backed by tutors? Is it vetted by the right people on the platform? Because if it's just two people who want to come and create a edutech platform, for primary education, we wouldn't. We would definitely not go into it. If we're talking about secondary and if we're talking about university education, is there a learning body associated with it? If there's a learning body associated with it, it adds that much more accreditation to the platform, accreditation to the structure. B, more importantly, how difficult or how easy it is to use, commercialize, and scale this platform for reach and for interactivity. There are a lot of platforms that I've seen where the user journey has been extremely difficult, while the base country in which it is built is easy, but for the larger population to use it is extremely difficult. Third, most importantly, do they have a plan associated with it to commercialize and make it scalable? Do they have a plan associated to take it to the next level? Is it only a content platform? If it is a content platform, do they have content available for next 6 to 12 months with them, or are they running on the go? If it is a platform, does the platform have scale? Because if you're trying to build a platform that can take X number of participants on it, and beyond that, it has either commercial shortcomings or it has bandwidth shortcomings, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Most importantly is, are you able to take this platform to the entire world? And on education, on health tech, as of the family officers that I represent, are very, very particular about the social structures of the education space. So we have rejected at least 11 deals in this space, which were talking about quick money. One deal that we are particularly very keen and very keenly following, and have invested Series A and right now might be investing B as well, is a deal from Pakistan, which is about creating an online learning or online tutoring experiences for kids in different parts of Pakistan, India, and Middle East for mathematics, for sciences, and for social studies at $2 an hour. When education is now costing anywhere between $12 to $16 an hour, a $2 an hour education session in a group of 6 to 10 kids from one particular background or one particular education system creates a very strong bridge between the educators and the students. So what we do is neither are we the content creators nor are we content providers. We are an aggregator platform between the tutors and the students. Students come through the digital marketing route, tutors come through the curriculum building and recommender or a reference route. That's how we bridge the gap. We've invested $350,000. We might be investing another $1 million or million plus in the next 7 to 8 months in this space. If it reaches a particular level that we are expecting, which is about 800 to 900,000 participant hours in a year, we would be scaling it and investing another Series B or Series C funding into it. But that's one use case that we are working on. The second use case that we are very, very bullish is Arabization of a lot of education content that has been created for primary and nursery kids in certain parts of the world into Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Oman, where there is a massive learning demand for Arabized content, especially online learning content, but providers are very limited. So that these are the two use cases where we see a lot of opportunity for us.
So, Karthik, with that $3 per hour platform for providing services for tutoring services, but this is a private tuition a platform to provide private tuitions. Is it also vetted by the government?
So it has to necessarily be vetted by the board that educates. So if you were to look at a board, let's say a Central Board for Secondary Education in India or a AICT in India, the teacher has to come through an accreditation platform and has had X number of education hours, X degree certification, and associated with certain education systems. Only then he is made a part of the panel. And there are only 4 curriculums that are being taught in this. So either you are a CBSE curriculum, an IGSE curriculum, an IB curriculum, or a particular regional board curriculum. So then a child has to select what curriculum, what subject, what grade, and then it becomes a learning session for 12 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, or an annual learning course. Now, obviously, if you buy an hour, it's not going to cost you $3. But if you buy 36 hours, it costs you $3, which is almost more or less equal to the money that you spend on physical learning. But still, in the online space, it's far cheaper.
Right. Yeah, you're buying in bulk. And yeah, exactly. We have so many curriculums in India and Pakistan, I'm sure. Thank you for simplifying that for us. Thank you, Karthik. Kingsley, over to you. Any successful use cases of investments made or you're planning to make in the EdTech space that you can share? And what are the best practices that you followed? Like Karthik mentioned, these are some of the parameters he follows and his company follows before he can accept or reject a startup. So anything from you, Kingsley?
Yes. Investing in EdTech is very tricky because there's a lot of people there who just want to make money through shortcut. Looking at the contents they have, looking at the HRO, looking at what they want to achieve is very important in investing money in I or my investor putting money into any EdTech investment. Another thing people are forgetting is that people think education is just about learning physics, chemistry, biology, and things like that. No, education is also about the artisans. We have the plumbers, we have the carpenters, we have people who have to do the daily work in our lives. We should not forget those ones. I personally is trying to create something that will bring all these people together, and we are able to teach the next generation how to do these simple home things that we take for granted. That is also part of education. When we talk of education, we tend to look into the academic education only, but I'm looking more into the physical, practical way of teaching people how to make things work at home, furniture, repair your car, simple things like that. So I am actually in the process of creating an education platform to cater to those kind of people. We have a lot of people in Japan, in Africa, who have been doing that for a very long time, but they are getting old. And as they are getting old, the next generation doesn't know nothing about that. Nobody wants to learn about handwork. People want to be millionaires, billionaires by doing white collar jobs and things like that. But we cannot survive without actually teaching the next generation how to create things that we use on a daily basis. So I am looking to create something like that for countries in Africa and Japan.
Oh, wow. So these are skill-based education or learning, you can say, like where you actually teach how to change a tire. I don't know how to change a tire, but yeah. platform.
I never change one myself, but but at least they have to be people who can do that for you, and we need them to teach others how to do it.
Okay, great. Oh, that's another way to look at it for sure. Thank you so much, Kingsley, for sharing that. And please let me know when this platform is beta stage or MVP. So, I'm very fascinated to how it looks for Japan and Africa. Thank you so much, Kingsley.
You'll be the first to know.
Sure. Thank you. Gary, over to you, please, with your success stories.
Yeah, sure. I want to start off by the, keep it simple, stupid part of this thing. So really, we look at the startups in 3 levels: startup 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. By that, I mean, startup 1.0 is really acceleration. You get to your MVP, you may have some sales, you've done your design thinking, et cetera. So we call that the startup 1.0. But then let's look at where do we go next. So startup 2.0 is really regional domination. So whether you're in Africa or Singapore or Australia or Europe, you've really dominated your region. But then where do you go next? And that's where we call startup 3.0 is going global. And because of the COVID situation today, it's not as easy raising money. It's not as easy developing those contacts. I mean, traditionally, what we would do in Silicon Valley is I would go down to Hobbes, which is very close to Stanford University, Hobbes, and we would have breakfast, lunch, maybe dinner, and we would talk about it. So you meet with the VCs. Some of the rules are the VCs need to be 40 minutes from where you're located in order for you to raise money. So that's the way it used to be, but think about the way it is today. And that's one of the great things about VCTV is because you're able to connect with people from all over the world at one point, on one platform. And it's critically important because trust is critically important when you're raising money. Success that you've had in the past where somebody can say you've done unicorns or you've had successful exits of companies or successfully raised money. That's number 2. And 3 is that you've got a powerful team that's internationally recognized. So those are some of the challenges when you're taking it to the next level from the startup 2.0, even if you've raised a Series A level funding, even a Series B, it's how do you go global? So that's really the next step in this thing from my perspective. What are we looking for? I've written a lot of articles now about artificial intelligence, AR, VR, quantum computing, et cetera. But the real key of the situation is look at where we are. The hyper-personalization, which is what's needed in education, is across multiple vertical markets. If we want to develop relationships in e-commerce, hyper-personalization is key. I want to know what product, what place, at what time. If I'm teaching a student, and I was an MBA professor in marketing at one of the top university in Russia, and in a joint program, one of the things that we want to look at is how can we develop those experiences tighter? How can we make them rewarding? How can we gamify them? How can we make them exciting? I mean, this is simple. I mean, Sonny, you've got a child, I've got 2 kids. I mean, think about it. They don't want to be bored. None of us want to be bored. We want to be engaged, right? Make it interesting. So the beauty of being able to go on a safari from your desk to be able to go with the journey, not by yourself, but imagine able to do it as a group. How rich does that make the experience? So you want to go to back in time to understand what it was like during the Dark Ages, what it was like at the pyramids. So those are the kind of rich experiences. And quite frankly, we're getting to that point. So we're encouraged about that. In terms of, my particular areas of interest, one of our portfolio companies is SkillCup. SkillCup is a micro-learning application, primarily for corporations, but could be used anywhere. Because what's it all about? How quickly, as a teacher, can I develop the content? And can I make it exciting? And by the way, can it be used on a mobile device? Because not everybody has a computer. So, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. We kept it real simple in the farm. If something has black and white and has horns, it's probably a cow, right? And so keep it very, very simple. And I think this is an incredible time for each and every one of us on the panel today to be able to make a dent in the universe, to make the world a better place, and keeping kids engaged, keeping employees engaged, because employees have the same challenge today. How do I stay engaged if I'm working for a Fortune 50 company and we're spread all over and I don't get to see my boss anymore? In person? What can I do to be able to keep an engaging educational experience that keeps me motivated and interested in working for the company? So we're excited about it, and we're looking for opportunities each and every day at GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios.
Thank you, Gary. That's nicely explained, and obviously segmented education in different sectors. We have, kindergarten, then we have K-12, then you have those educational platform for people like who can do it yourself, like self-learning skill-based education at Kingsley is doing. But corporate education as well, as Gary said, is very important, corporate education as well at the same time. And I really like the way that Gary, you split it into three, like startup 1.0, startup 2.0, and startup 3.0, and the final goal should be to go global. Absolutely. That's the final goal of any startup. I should be, actually, literally. And thank you, Gary, for those insights. As I say, I learn every day from you, besides others as well. And for great insights coming from all of you with success stories, real case success stories. That's very important. These success stories are all real case coming from all the investors today. Fantastic. We would like to take some closing remarks. And also, we are working on making VCTV as a product more and more, how to put it, more experience, more like, give you a much more experience to this. Like, we already know what we do. Like in 2020, we started off, but I would like to know your feedback to make it more interesting, maybe add some features on it. So it should all come from you. We are also planning on getting more startups on VCTV going forward, to hear them speak as well. So that's in the pipeline. I'd like to start with Vandana. Vandana, what's your closing remarks, and what are you expecting out of VCT? Because all of you are regular speakers. Gary speaks more than once on VCTV. So we would like to make it interesting going forward for all of us, for the speakers, for the entrepreneurs, and the viewers, audience as well. So that's why it's very important for us to take this feedback. So Vandana, closing remarks, and what's expectations out of VCTV going forward?
So thank you, Sunny and Carol, first of all, for getting me to this platform every time. And it is very engaging. It is very, I learn from all the panelists here a lot. And I get to know about many different kinds of startups all around the world. So I think this platform is very global, and one should, really get into this platform and engage with all the investors. So I think, what my feedback is that, this let's go global and let's have more and more investors on this platform. You can also have some startups coming up and asking questions to us. I think that would be great. If that can happen, and keep it this way. I think it's already doing good this way. So I don't think you are so expert in your field that any change is required here.
Okay.
So going back to the closing remarks, when we focus on the future of EdTech space, the online learning market size is anticipated to grow really well, exponentially. So many more startups are entering the market with the support of reputed education apps and development service providers to connect students, teachers, administrators at any time and anywhere and across the devices. And eventually, this market is supposed to be valued at $1916 million by the end of this year. Not only this, it is forecasted that the educational market will experience a seismic shift from traditional approach to that on evolving integration of cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence, AR, and blockchain, and so on. So I am personally trying to look at the startups that are, more K2 education apps, test preparation platforms, also, from career development apps, language learning platforms. So if any startups want to approach me, for these kind of edutech investments, please do reach out. So that's a
Thank you.
message from me.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Yes, I mean, as Karthik says, it's a sunrise sector. I say this is a pandemic-proof sector. I mean, be it a crisis or not, this sector is always going to thrive, survive, and grow. Okay, Karthik, over to you, please.
So I just want to add one thing here. We're talking about 1.7 million kids, 7 billion kids, and you're talking about 4 education hours every day. You're talking about 8 billion hours on a daily basis. That's more than Coca-Cola's volume on a daily basis into 4 times. That much is the size of the business available. It only requires a very strong push in terms of creating robust, scalable, global platforms infused with technology, infused with right content. And there is a massive demand for this. This is a pandemic baby. This business is a pandemic baby, especially in the primary sector. Secondary education, commercial education, executive education, and postgraduate education always existed in the e-space. So it's nothing new. But primary sector is where there's a lot of demand. Anybody who comes with a scale and a very strong plan that is ready to be marketed over a 3 to 5 year period, and making sure that what education industry couldn't do in 100 years, which is educate every child on this planet, can be done by an e-education, because it's that much more easy to reach every part of the world. So it requires that strong effort and a very strong mindset to build scale around it. It's only about scale, and it's about authenticity and accuracy of content. About VCTV, I think we might need to talk about promoting the collaborative approach beyond the hours on the platform. Where while we are here on the platform, I see a lot of people reaching out, but then that doesn't necessarily fructify into any conversations. People lose out the steam. There might be a little bit fear about, should we reach out, should we talk, should we not talk, would one of these some of these investors think we're stupid? But then every idea begins with that thought in mind. So we need to democratize and make people aware that you can reach out beyond the hours on VCTV and have your thoughts being vetted, have your thoughts being advised and supported. And more importantly, I think a little bit of competitiveness in terms of startup, throwing their ideas on the table and then being evaluated online in front of a typical Shark Tank is the way I would look at it, would only make this platform that much more interactive and fun to be.
Great points, Karthik. Even I like the first point, because you are totally right. I mean, outside of VCTV hours, I mean, are you guys accessible, approachable? That's very important.
Everybody is, and trust me, every time that I'm on a show, at least I get 5 to 7 LinkedIn requests from different parts of the world trying to reach out to me on different issues. But then beyond that, they all stop, and it would be fruitful for them to reach out with their thoughts, reach out with their ideas, reach out with their queries, and everybody is open to help. Everybody has enough time to support and incubate talent these days. So yeah, always welcome.
Very good points, Karthik, and well noted for future. Thank you. Mohit, so what's your closing remarks for this EdTech panel? And because you've been on my session, I think this is the third time or second time. This is for 2021. We are taking some feedback. So what, like Karthik said, Vandana said, what would you like to see a visit on VCTV going forward this year?
Yeah, so my thought, since I'm fairly new, but my thought was mostly on the similar lines which Karthik has outlined very articulately, in terms of a more collaborative approach, more platform-based approach for people to connect among each other, as well as outsiders to reach out to them in case of derive more and more value apart from the sessions which they attend. So that would be my feedback. In terms of the entire edutech landscape, my closing remarks would be that whatever bad this COVID-19 has done towards society and economy as a whole, it has created a eureka moment for edutech companies. What used to happen is all these edutech players are being seen or perceived as a threat by the traditional teachers, and they're not well adopted by them, or they're not pushed by them, or maybe talked about among the students and all. But this COVID-19 has created them, or created a kind of a bond between the teachers as well as these edutech platforms, and that is something which is a very big, I would say, a permanent behavior shift or a permanent behavior change which has happened, and this has led to an enormous market expansion in terms of the opportunity which lies ahead. So I would be very willing or encouraging startups and guys who wants to build business in the scale, that this is the right time and this is the right opportunity the market is there for everyone, and as well as there are so many different opportunities which is coming up, which Gary has outlined in the different levels of education. So there is no other better time to do this than now.
Thank you, Mohit. I really like the fact when you said that this pandemic has brought teachers and the platforms, the technology closer. I mean, it was a threat before, and because of the pandemic, they have come closer, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. That's the opportunity. Thank you so much, Mohit. And yes, and your feedback aligns with Karthik's feedback, and we're going to work on it. Thank you so much. Kingsley, over to you, please, with your closing remarks and expectations from VCTV 2021.
Well, I want to thank you for having me once again. And my closing remarks is very simple. Keep it simple, and always explain to your investors how they will get their money back, because most people just talk and talk and talk, and they forget to tell the investors how they're going to get their money back, which is the most important thing the investor wants to hear. About VCTV, you guys are doing a great job, but I would love that everybody that speaks on this panel, there should be a kind of group, and you should throw all the startups, all the people that have that want to raise funds, people that want their projects to be invested in, to put their projects there, so that we look at them, and then if we see good ones, we are able to invest in them, because they also spend their time watching us talk. So they should be a priority to us to invest in their business before other businesses. But there are people I have talked to, or who I have talked to, but like you said, it vanishes away. But we should keep all this startup investment or business online, so that we are able to look at it. We are able to tell them what to do, or even advise them freely on how to restructure or structure their businesses to meet investors' criteria. But I don't think we are doing that right now. I think we need to reach out to them to bring, no matter how, there's no bad project, to be honest. People talk about bad projects. I don't believe in bad projects. I believe that you can marry one or two projects together. So it is our duty to advise them, okay, you have the tech, you have the marketing plan, you have the HRO. How do we bring these three companies together and marry them into one strong company? I think it's one of our duties to do. So we are looking forward to having more projects online that we'll talk about, and then marrying them together and making them succeed.
Wow, fantastic. Startups, I'm going to come to Gary last, but startups and entrepreneurs and founders who are listening today, Gary, I'm going to come back to you. Kingsley just gave it away. He's looking for startups and entrepreneurs to invest. And obviously it's a marriage, as he rightly said. And he says that there is no bad project. And I agree to that. I mean, with a lot of grooming and training and mentoring, I mean, every project has a scope. Why not? Every founder has an opportunity. Every entrepreneur has an opportunity to showcase their talent. And thank you, Kingsley, for that. And yes, and every investor should have an exit strategy in place. Once you invest. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Gary, over to you, please, with your closing remarks and VCTV 2021 expectations.
So, I've been doing startups for over 30 years. I've done 17 companies, and it's never easy. There's no question about it's never easy. So believing in yourself and your dreams. I know my first startup, I was 21 years old. Even my father said, you don't want to do that, Gary. You went to graduate school. You should be a professor. And I didn't want to do that. So I started a company. I raised the funding on my own. I took personal loans out, et cetera. And I didn't have money coming right out of graduate school. But I made $9 million in business. It was a construction tech company. I built houses up to 8,000 square feet. And I started from scratch. People said it couldn't be done. We did it. So believing in yourself, and it's never easy. There were dark times, there were hard times, but you got to believe in yourself. So, fast forward, we brought a company over from Israel. The company was called IET. I was on the original management team. They said it couldn't be done. There were bad times because of the financial crisis, et cetera. We ended up doing an IPO on NASDAQ when they said it couldn't be done. Company sold for $1.35 billion. Right? It's always it couldn't be done, but it doesn't matter where you're from. I went to Russia. I started the first accelerator in Russia. There's an American here. How can you do it? You're an American. Who are you? Et cetera. And then it became the most successful accelerator. So what I'm saying is, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world, I'm just a country boy, right? So each and every person out there has a chance to be able to change it. And, VCTV really, I'm a clinical psychologist in addition to an entrepreneur. And one of the things that VCTV's done is really comforted us in uncertain times and given hope that we can work together in a better way, hope that we can make a dent in the universe, and believe in our dreams so that they come true. So I've seen miracles happen here. One of the things that I do is I follow up. I have a chief of staff. I follow up with every person that's on the VCTV panels because I want to get to know them. I'm really interested. And the things that have happened are just incredible, right? From meeting with Richard Branson's partner and setting up opportunity. I mean, it's just across the board. So what we do at GSD is we take care of the third level. The third level is going global. So companies out there that have raised a Series A or Series B that don't have the international credibility, what we do is we come in, we take operational roles in the company, we help them raise the funding, we invest depending on the situation, but we take active roles in the company. We put our reputations on the line. So we're sure that we can help that company grow. We've been extremely successful doing it. It hasn't been easy. It's never easy. But it's the wave of the future because you need to be able, as the Germans say, connect Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. And that's really where it is. So I'm encouraged about the opportunities coming up. VCTV was right in first in doing this. I've seen the changes right from the very beginning to hundreds of episodes later. And topics. And by the way, I learned from each and every one of you. You each have incredible ideas, and I appreciate the sharing because, it's all about taking that knowledge and being able to make something different with it. So whether it's Mohit, Kartik, Kingsley, Vandana, yourself, Sonny, or Carol, it's just every person has something they can give you, a gift of knowledge they can give you. Your challenge is to be able to give a gift of knowledge back to be able to help them.
Excellent. Great words, Gary. I mean, amazing. I mean, startups, you just heard Gary saying, if you wish to go global, this is the platform. This is the final goal of any startup, any founder, go global. Beyond the different rounds of funding that you receive. And also, you are networking, you are sharing insights. I mean, this is also learning from each other. It's like peer-to-peer learning session. Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you so much, Vandana, Kingsley, Mohit, and Kartik. This brings us to the end of the show. Startups and entrepreneurs and founders, as you know, I have repeatedly getting feedback that you should be on these panels. Reach out to us, pitch your ideas to these lovely investors who are looking to help. I mean, you rightly heard from Kingsley. He's looking to help any startup. I mean, for him, there is no bad or good startup as such. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we're going to get you on VCTV for this year 2021. And again, investors, if you are looking to share your knowledge with other like-minded people on this panel, like Gary has made so many relationships, so many connections beyond VCTV hours as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to more than happy to have you on this panel. Having said that, end of the show, I'll be back again with another set of topic, another set of speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of yourself. Thank you. See you. Bye.